Hey, welcome to the Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan. I'm joined with my big bro, the coach. He's a coach on the basketball court, but also in the stock markets as well. Many podcasts, they give a lot to offer. Some podcasts make you laugh. Some podcasts help you with your health and your workouts. Some podcasts even help you in the kitchen. My wife has been into all these criminal minds podcasts, and it little worries me a little bit because, the longer we've been married, the more she's been into, how to get away with murder and all those kinds of things. Those podcasts are probably some of the most popular. But our show actually has something far greater than any of those things, any of those podcasts have to offer. Our show offers a solution to all your problems. Yeah, I know that sounds like a gimmick. How can that be true? But the reality is we really have the solution, the source. We'll point you to the source. And at this Sports Reverends podcast, we'll talk about our unapologetic faith, and you'll also hear some hot sports takes along the way. So, Coach, why don't you give them a rundown of our show, and we'll get into it.
Our quick hitters, as always, to start it off. We'll also talk a bit about football, a couple games in the week, but also who are your locks for winnings this week? Baseball playoffs are underway. We'll briefly talk about the first round and who we think. We haven't talked about a lot of baseball at all, but that's all right. And finally, to wrap it up in the real talk section, who are you? That's our talk. What's your story? And I think the tagline is going to be, you've got a story, and we want to know and help you find and write yours. So why don't you start us off? Let's get off with the first quick hitter, Dan.
Sad news in the basketball community. Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo dies at age 58 from brain cancer.
One of the guys who definitely put his money where his mouth is. Pete Rose, MLB all-time hit leader, whether you love him or hate him, he also passed away at 83.
Jared Goff threw a perfect game, 18 for 18 against the Seahawks.
Coach gave the game ball away, though. Oops. The Americans have won the President's Cup for the 10th consecutive time. Europeans don't stand a chance, apparently.
And Alabama in the college game of the year returned to the number one spot in the AP Top 25 for the first time in 2 years. Before we handle any business, Coach, can you give me your best Dikembe Mutombo?
Ooh, he has a very low and gravelly voice, so I won't do the voice, but
I'm giving you a 3 out of 10 for that. All right, let's handle some business. UrbanHope is a mentorship program that we get to run in downtown Toronto. We get to help kids and youth find their way in life, and through that we point them to our faith in Christ. We point them to lessons on how to work. We give them mentorship skills and help them have opportunities for themselves to put those skills into practice. We also teach discipline and also make a safe space for them, that they know that there's a loving community, a safe place where they can hang out, where they can feel comfortable as well. If you're interested in supporting UrbanHope, check out the link that's going to be in our bio and our YouTube. It's churchinthecity.ca/give. And it's just a great chance for you to pour into and actually save some lives of the next generation. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for helping us out. And thank you for your support.
Awesome. So a couple games from last week that caught the eye. Minnesota beating on Green Bay. Who is Sam Darnold? And surprise of the year, maybe.
Like Kevin O'Connell keeps it going. Sam Darnold keeps it rolling. They dominated that game. Green Bay had a good second half. Minnesota definitely let their foot off the gas. But wow, undefeated Minnesota Vikings. There's only one other team that's undefeated. They're more expected, Kansas City. But no one thought Minnesota's being.
Not even maybe.
Minnesota was actually the top. I think they were in the top 3. I think they were top 2 bet against as being the worst team in the league by the end of the season. Showing up all the betters.
Hey, they just got to get 8 more wins in total and they're a lock. So a third of the way there. A surprising game here. Tampa Bay blowing out Philly.
I know Philly had a lot of injuries and no AJ Brown, no Devontae Smith, lots of injuries on their D line too. But good for Baker Mayfield. He looked perfect. He's the perfect Baker. Everything was going right, moving the ball. He even took one in himself and put his shoulder down. He could do no wrong. Good on Baker. It just makes me happy. I don't know why I'm so happy for Baker Mayfield. I have no connection to him. Don't even care about Tampa Bay or even his past in Cleveland. But I'm just happy that he's overcome so much hatred.
Absolutely.
Doing so well. We all kind of thought he's going to fall off this year, but more Baker magic.
We all felt the Johnny Manziel train would copy him.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely proving people wrong. So here's a question for you, as you are a big gamer. Has Black Ops 6 beta been re-released? Because Washington smacked Arizona. Has Kyler Murray just been playing too many video games, or what happened last week? That was brutal.
Nice pull. I think Kyler Murray may have the weight to be able to play Black Ops already because he's kind of a big deal. He's been in their commercials. But yes, wow, just unbelievable how Arizona even looked. I just totally shocked.
Coming after a strong week, expect a little more from them. The last game, just briefly touch on. If you're Miami and you consider yourself a contender for the Super Bowl, dropping to Tennessee with 20 points is not going to cut it. Tennessee up 31, Miami 12. Not a good look at home for the Dolphins.
Miami's back to being the Dolphins. Throughout a decade, they'll maybe have one or two seasons, but then they always revert back. They're one of those franchises that do not put it together. And for them to even lose that poorly to the Tennessee Titans, who had their backup in Mason Rudolph, brutal. Just brutal. They're bad. They're really bad.
I guess,
Shout out to Ryan Farrell.
Shout out to Ryan Farrell. The Dolphins get this lore as an amazing team because of Dan Marino, but he never won a Super Bowl either. So maybe they're always going to be second place, kissing your sister, that kind of deal. But I think Tua and that magic is not going to get it done. Let's take a look at Week 5 here in the NFL. I think we should talk about Thursday Nighter, Tampa, Atlanta. I think it's a big division game for sure. Who are you picking and why?
Man, that was not the rule of what we were doing. You chose a game that I have no read on. This is such a tightly contested game. I know Atlanta's at home, but Tampa Bay's rolling. Man, if I had to make a pick, it's hard to go against the Falcons at home. I'm going to choose the Falcons at home to super close, within a field goal, they win by. It's going to end in another Mr. Koo, or I think that's his last name, Young-Him Koo, I believe is his name, one of the best kickers in the NFL. I believe it's going to end in another game-winning kick as he did in Week 4. Good for him.
That's a good call. I'm taking Tampa. I think they are. They're going to ride this Baker train, and they're going to keep rolling. You're playing in a dome. Yes, the crowd will be loud, but conditions are in your favor for the Bucks and Baker Mayfield. So I'm picking Baker. I think he's going to come through, and we're going to see. I think they're going to win by 10.
Okay,
so
we're taking. We gotta choose though. They're gonna win by 10. We gotta choose 5 picks that we agree on.
We didn't say agree, but okay.
Because we gotta give a Sports Revs 5. Come on.
Okay, we'll call that one a toss, and we'll pick 5 more. We'll do that. This is a I think something that we can potentially agree on. Arizona and San Francisco. They're playing in Santa Clara. It's the afternoon game. What are your thoughts and why?
Yeah, I think it seems like San Francisco's got their swag back. I think Arizona's getting kind of, because of their last loss, they're getting really put as a major underdog. I think it's going to be closer than what people are going to believe. They got their rookie sensation tight end coming back. So, I think Arizona will keep it close. So I'll say 49ers won't cover the spread if we're looking at it that way. But the 49ers will win. I'm down for that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm picking the Niners as well. I think it's time Debo got out of a funk. It'll be another week to get healthy. We know CMC's not going to be there. And it's time for a little Debo magic. I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team. But I think it'll be closer than what the spread expects. But I think San Francisco pulls that one out. Not to be any hometown bias. Pittsburgh, Dallas, in Pittsburgh for the Sunday nighter.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, Dallas. So Pittsburgh's favored to win. They have the defensive line that's going to probably eat up the rookies on each end of the offensive line on Dallas. This is a tough game. I can't trust Justin Fields. So I'll give you a Justin Fields stat. He has not won a game if a team has scored 20 or more points. He has not won a game. So if Dallas can get to 20, 21, that's probably a good signal that they can do it. So I think this is kind of a place where, if Russell Wilson was playing, it could be different. But they have Justin Fields going, so I'm going with the Cowboys. Close one, though.
Okay. Close one. I have a little more faith in the Cowboys pulling this one out. I think after 2 weeks of absolute trash, the defense is going to step up, put a lot of pressure on Fields. I think they'll cause a few mistakes, and that'll give Dak a bit of momentum, and more importantly, a bit of breathing room for him to put some stuff together and hopefully spread the ball a little bit and get some more points. But I think they can pull out 21 points minimum onto this game. I feel that's a good stat for them. So yeah, we're picking Dallas to go and take the W. Let's see what else we got here coming up this week. Miami and New England.
Okay.
This is the Dolphins at Foxborough, the 1 o'clock game. The line has New England -1 over under 35.5. What do you think?
The way New England's playing right now is really ugly. The last 2 games are really ugly. Totally have lost their run game because they were playing catch up really quickly. But Miami has also looked equally ugly without Tua. I can't choose this Miami. After seeing them play against Tennessee like that, I cannot choose them. I think if New England can establish the run, they'll be okay. I'm going New England.
I feel Jared Mayo's gonna sense a bit of an opportunity here. The 1 o'clock game, people are still kind of overlooking New England, and rightfully so. They're not a great team at the moment. However, this Miami team probably thinks they're better than they actually are, and they're kind of relying on last year's offensive magic to kind of have their swagger. I'm thinking New England comes. It's going to be another close one, but I think New England pulls it out to win in the afternoon game.
I got one for you.
Okay.
This is going to be a tough one to pull. Okay, so Houston's at home. They're underdog to the Bills. Bills are without Von Miller, coming off a loss, but a Houston team that just barely beat the Jays. What do you got?
Man, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. Again, full disclosure, Josh Allen's on my fantasy team, so I need him to have a good game. I think we're going to see an in mid-season form here. CJ Stroud's going to come alive. I think the season hasn't exactly started the way they wanted to. Houston doesn't have the record that they wanted to, but playing at home, afternoon game, weather's still good. I think CJ Stroud comes alive and Houston takes this one.
Diggs revenge game. Come on.
And a Diggs revenge game. But I think the storyline will be about the Diggs revenge game. I think it's going to be more also how Buffalo won't be able to maximize on their opportunities.
I'm with you.
I think the mistakes will cost Buffalo.
Yep, I'm with you. Houston, it is.
Houston is okay. Last one, easy one. At least I think it's an easy one. New Orleans at KC. Monday nighter. The only Monday night game this week.
Fine.
Who do you got?
Yeah. It's hard to go against Kansas City right now. They're winning really ugly, but they're missing Rashee Rice now. It's going to be a tough one. I can't go against Mahomes. I can't do it this week. Not this week. New Orleans is they need a bounce back too, so they're desperate. But
yeah, I think with the receiving options being limited, Kelsey is going to be a bigger target than he has been the last couple of weeks.
He had a decent game last week, but
pardon?
He had a decent week 4 finally.
He did this in week 4, and so you're kind of building momentum. Maybe being at home, having that pressure on him to really produce. We could see some magic happen, and because let's be honest, everybody's gonna make it about Taylor Swift is distracting him, blah blah blah, whatever. Who cares? He's still professional. He's still a champion, and I think that him and Mahomes will figure it out.
I'm glad you brought up Taylor Swift. I have a conspiracy for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so I looked at the schedule. Taylor Swift performs in Toronto in the end of November. She's doing a full week here. Sold out shows. All of Canada's going. It seems like 6 shows at the baseball Rogers Blue Jay Stadium. Conveniently, the Kansas City Chiefs play in Buffalo the end of the tour in Toronto. Do you think they planned it that way? The NFL. Chiefs schedule around Taylor Swift's studios.
I'm going to say that's a nice theory, but there's just so many different variables that go into putting a schedule together, let alone for the NFL, but also for Taylor Swift and those dates to be open. Because you really, you can't go further into December with the dome closed. Really. Right? It's going to get way too cold in there. And any earlier, I'm going to say no.
She's going to be in a box.
No, I'm talking about her performing. Her performing in the Rogers Center.
Yeah, they can just close the dome if it gets cold.
It's going to be... Come on.
I'm keeping my tin hat on, all right? I'm keeping my tin hat on. You can be the normal person. That's okay.
I will drink the Kool-Aid. I'm okay with that.
No, I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
You're drinking the conspiracy theory Kool-Aid. Yeah, yes. I'm drinking just a regular juice out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's enough about Taylor Swift. We talked about that too much. Next topic. Moving on. It is that glorious time of the year, if you're a baseball fan, probably the only time that I will watch baseball outside of the Jays. Yeah, baseball outside of the Jays in focus is come playoffs, because playoff baseball is just so much better. Let's go quickly through this. We're both not experts. We love ball, but we're not that experts at it. Orioles and Royals. Who are you picking?
No, I'm going Baltimore. I think they've kind of built up their expectations. They've kind of been through the mud over the last couple of seasons to get to where they're at. And they've had their hurts, so I'm going Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm picking Baltimore too. They're also in a tricky situation. They're trying to balance that line between having future prospects and going all in. I think this year's run will determine how aggressive they are in the market. If they come up short, they're going to push because they know that Toronto's probably not going to be great. Boston, probably not great. Tampa, they're going to be terrible because they don't want to grow that payroll. So it's just competing with the big bad New York Yankees. And so if they make a deep run, expect them to be aggressive come the fall. The Tigers haven't made the playoffs in forever, and they're coming up against the Astros. Who are you picking and why?
I can never cheer for the Astros ever again, so I'm picking the new playoff berth, Detroit baseball. Doesn't sound right, but Detroit.
Doesn't sound right. No, doesn't sound right.
Good for Detroit.
You need an extra syllable in there. Yeah, I still think the Astros are going to win. You have some of that. They've been there, done that kind of thing. Detroit has the benefit of not being there in a while, so you kind of know with the young playoff team, kind of like OKC last year, they don't know what to expect, so they don't really care. They just go out and play. But I'm still picking Astros, but I think they take it in 4. Probably one of the most competitive first rounds. The Padres and the Braves. A lot of money was spent by both these teams. The Braves won a couple of years ago. The Padres are trying to get there. Who are your thoughts on mine?
Yeah, I think going with the Braves. Both teams. It's going to be, I think the best series to watch. Yeah, the Braves are. I think what they won 2 years ago, the World Series. Mm-hmm. Lost last year. I'm going to go with the Braves. I think they still got some fire in their belly to get back to where they were. But toss up. It's a toss up.
I think 60-40 Braves at this point. I think that previous pedigree does help them quite a bit. Because even, baseball is one of those few sports where the games can tilt very quickly in a series. You have a lot of different starting pitchers, things like that, a lot of, inter-game things. So but I still think the Braves come out on top. Last but not least, the Brewers, Milwaukee, against the Mets, which is a bit of a surprise team considering they sold everybody off last year, it feels like. But the Mets are in the playoffs
so badly in the start of the year.
Different kind of stories. Who are you picking and why?
I'm with my boy Jerry Seinfeld. I'm going with the Nets. Let's go.
Nets?
The Mets. My bad. The New York Mets. Let's go.
I'm picking the Mets as well. I would love to see Yankees-Mets World Series. Subway Classic. I think that'd be insane. Or even a Dodgers-Yankees World Series would be all right. It would be great because, Shohei. But a classic Subway Series would be fun to watch.
This first round, in the wild card round, it's only 3 games, right? That's not 7. It's best of 3, I think.
I think it's best of 5.
Yeah, it's best of 3.
Best of 3. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be quick then.
It's quick wild card series. Yeah.
Which is also fun.
Very fun.
Which is also fun. So yeah, and that really, especially for the Mets and the Braves, impacts their ability to see who starts.
Yes.
Because they went due to some of the weather and stuff like that. So that chess match in baseball is always interesting because you got to think 3 or 4 games ahead. All right. World Series winner, call it right now.
Gotta go with Shohei, Mr. 60-50. Man he's bionic. He's unbelievable. Dodgers are loaded. I'm not cheering for them. I don't know why I'm saying it like this. I really hope they don't win, but they're, I believe, going to win.
Yeah, I think they're going to win as well. I don't think it's going to be close. I think they're just going to catch fire, and he's going to make sure that they do it. So that's what I got. All right, time to take care of some business. Folks, if you are looking to find an additional source of income, if you're looking to have a plan for retirement, if you're looking to save up for university or pay for your kids' tuition, or there's a certain expense coming in, maybe you want a new boat. I know you guys love fishing out there, but you just don't know how to get there. You just don't know where to start. You're told, give your money to a financial guy, let him or her take care of it. That's just not going to work. If you take a look at your investment returns, your RRSPs, you'll see maybe a nice number like 7 or 8. And then you hear this weird buzzword that's been going on for the last little bit called inflation. And when inflation is 5 or 6%, that 7 and 8 turns down to be quite small. So if you're looking to find out how you can increase your rate of return, or even what a rate of return is, and plan for your future, check us out at www.train2invest.com. So that's train2invest.com, and download our free ebook. Have a read. There's going to be things that you may understand, and there's going to be things you may not understand. And then I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to have a chance to sit down and chat and see if what we do is a fit for you. So again, www.train2invest.com. Download the free ebook and give us a shout, and we'll see if we can help you make your future plans come true. All right. My favorite part of the pod, as always. I think we tentatively are going to call it "You Got a Story." I think that's a great tagline, great title. And I think we'll start this. This is how at least I want to start it. Last Sunday at church in the city was phenomenal. We had 17 people get baptized by Pastor Dan, and what an emotional day. There were kids. Yeah, kids, teens, young adults, and adults, all the way through the gamut, and from all different walks of life. And the stories that they shared about what God was doing in their lives, where they've come, and what they're still expecting was amazing. And for some people, they were terrified. But they still got up there and they shared their story. Why don't you give us some thoughts on what this whole story piece, and maybe let's highlight like AJ Griffin. He's an easy example, a more recent example of somebody who's deciding what his story is going to be.
Yeah, there's a book I read that was a nonfiction book, or not a scriptural book, recently, and I don't do that very often, as many of you may know. There's a line in the book that said, everyone's got a story to write. Go write a good one. And I've been using that at some different funerals and different functions, where just to encourage people to know that you have a story that you got to share, that you need to share, that you need to write. And part of that is what you choose you want to do. And you brought up AJ Griffin. He turned down a $17 million basketball contract. And to most people, that's insanity. Why don't you just earn money? You'll be set for the rest of your life. You probably have earned a decent amount already, but you will be set for your family's generations after generations. Why would you ever turn that down? But he felt that as a part of his story is, I need to follow what God has in store for me and not what my desire is. So I can no longer say personally that I'm one of the best Reverend basketball players out there, because now there's an official active or formerly active NBA player who's would dominate. At church in the city, we had so many people share their stories, and as Coach was saying, some of their stories were insane. They're gang members who felt God leading them to a life away from that, obviously, and they've felt the need to pull kids out of the gangs. That's kind of been one of the roles of one of the students, the young adults that were there. He's been pulling the younger guys out of being trapped by the gangs. He actually, one of the kids that got baptized, the teens that got baptized, his life was saved because of this young adult, because he wanted to step away from the gang, and the gang was going to kill him. And this young adult guy stepped in and said, no, it's not going to happen this way. And I thought that it's just completely amazing. There's so many of them just had just beautiful stories of how God saved their life. And when we say you got a story, my heartbeat behind that is that your story is probably full of challenges and tough portions of life, whether it's a mental health challenge, or maybe it's a financial crisis, or maybe you've made some tough decisions, bad decisions in your life. Wherever you're at, you have a story, and the story of redemption is God coming together with you and putting your life back together. That's the story that you could have if you don't have that. And so when we say you got a story, and the stories of, it's really redemption is what we're trying to highlight. Back to you, Coach.
Yeah, and I think that one of the traps that people fall into is they look at their quote unquote story and they think, oh, there's nothing incredible here. There's nothing life changing. I haven't, joined a gang or saved anybody or done anything 180-degree turnaround. And I think what people need to hear, for people with a story like that, is that's okay. And you're blessed that you didn't have to go that far to have your own story with God. Your story may be quote unquote boring, but if you think about it hard enough, there are times, like you said, there's challenges in your life. There's times when God has come through in a way that you didn't expect, and that's part of your story. That's part of building your let's call it brand. Is I've lived my life a certain way. I've made the decisions that I've made today. This is my story because of that. Now, some of those decisions are great. Some of those decisions are bad. Who knows? That's not for me to say, but it's for God to judge, right? And if you have a boring story, that's okay, because it's not boring to everybody. It's going to touch somebody. And I think what really encouraged me on Sunday was that there were so many people willing to share their story, right? Oftentimes in the media, we'll see the opposite come true, like, making fun of Christianity, Christianity is an easy target, whether it's through sketches, whether it's through people talking on social media, whether it's people looking for controversy. But then you have the other beautiful side of it, where you see like CJ Stroud, you see Jonathan Isaac, AJ Griffin, you see what happened at the Olympics, where God is being glorified I think we talked about it off camera. We talked about it as God is being glorified in a bigger and more prominent way, right? What are your thoughts on that? Have you kind of seen this in your ministry so far? Things like that.
Things like what we just saw on Sunday, or like
Yes, things like people being more open to talking about their faith and being encouraged by hearing other people's.
Yeah, so I think that's a great. That's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking of. It's not about even how big of a turnaround your story may be, of what you consider it may be. I think there's something more to it. There is the decision of you're going from serving self. That's basically life, right? You serve self. Every decision you make is, how can I make my life better? Or if I can just achieve this, then I will be satisfied. How can I really find true peace and hope and satisfaction? And people will look for it in all kinds of things. You look for it in relationships. You look for it in fame and growing an Instagram account. You look for it in your bank account. But you're never really going to find that peace. You're never going to find that hope and that joy in that stuff. You might find it temporarily, but the story of redemption through Christ, that is everlasting. It's a peace that is like nothing you can find here on this earth. It's only with relationship with Him. And so we had 17 people, like we said, will share that story that, yeah, my life was hell. My life was tough. But this is the only thing that has brought me peace. There were some that were there that have been successful. None of the success has brought them peace and joy, right? They, even in their success, like AJ Griffin, he's gone through the emotions, he's gone through the trials of depression and challenges, but the money wasn't going to fix it. The more fame wasn't going to fix it. What he said, he needs to follow what God is calling him to do. That's why he's decided, I'm going to go to the ministry. And that's why the people on Sunday at church in this city decided, you know what, I'm done. I want everyone to know that I'm done living for myself. I'm now living for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for those who've never been to church in the city, it's very different than other churches because it's a smaller building, but there are windows everywhere, right? You can, and you'll have, and because it's so close, it's downtown and close to St. Lawrence Market, people are walking by left, right, and center, and I'm confident that when people saw this person talking and then being dunked in the water, it would have sparked some sort of conversation in their life, and who knows where that's going to lead. But it's a very powerful thing to be baptized and to share your faith. And are there, I'm sure when you went to Bible school, there was probably a couple key points that professors had talked to you about just sharing your faith in general. Do you think of any kind of tips you can give to people to just share their faith?
Yeah, I had one professor who kind of was very, I guess, frank when he talked about sharing your story, about even doing ministry. He was sharing that, yeah, there's millions of things you can do to help elevate yourself. The studying portion is important and it's good. The trying your best to live as pure as possible, that's a great thing to do. But he said this, I think we overcomplicate how we are to minister. The first and second greatest commandments are this: love God with all your heart. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. To love others the way God loves you is basically what loving your neighbor as yourself is. Don't overcomplicate it. Go and just be there. Be present with people. Be there for people. Go the extra mile for people, the way Jesus has done for you. And because there's books, thousands and thousands of books on, you got to be able to defend the faith, apologetics. You got to be able to defend every argument. You got to know your scripture, all these kinds of things, which are good things. I'm not saying they're not good things, but the heartbeat is to, when you love God with everything you got, you're willing to follow him, and it outpours out of you onto other people. And that's the kind of the heartbeat you are supposed to have for people that aren't Christ followers. So that was kind of the simple way that really resonated with me. And I think it's been very effective in my ministry and how others are ministering that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's 100% amazing. Like, the evolution of how you share your faith has changed quite a bit in a society where everybody seems a little jaded, a little bit on edge. It's kind of funny because we go through this whole cycle, and at the end of the day, just doing what Jesus did is still the best way, right? You don't need to be an amazing public speaker. You don't need to have 1 million Instagram followers. But Jesus led with his life. The way he lived was the way he ministered most of the time, right? And of course, his words are God. That's a different story. That's cool. But I think a lot of people respond way more positively when you start sowing into their lives, whether it's just, hey, how are you doing? And actually meaning it is a place to start. Hey, what'd you do this weekend? I went to church. That could spark a conversation. And that also can hold you accountable to how you live your life throughout the week as well. But I know for me in my workplace, everybody knows Sunday morning between 8 and 12-ish, maybe 1 o'clock, can't get a hold of them unless it's a really big emergency. Because I'm at church and I'm volunteering. And that's my thing, Sunday mornings. And people respect that. And sometimes they'll ask me, how'd the service go, or things like that. And I have a chance to sow into their lives. And they know I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. But consistently showing people the love of Christ through your actions is game-changing. Because people today are just they're selfish, they're self-centered, and they're all about me, 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 me. So like you said, love God and love others is just a very contrarian way to live, but it makes real change.
And some application for that. I think a lot of people get the maybe heartbeat of saying, if I was just in a different place, whether it's in your mind or whether it's physically, wherever. People say if it would just be so much easier if I was in the suburbs, or if I was a better speaker, then I could be more effective in ministry. But I don't think that's the right heartbeat. I think, you are where you are for a purpose and plan. And, look at the needs that are in front of you. So one thing, I'm not trying to brag on Church in the City. I'm just proud of what's going on. And one of the needs that we see is there's over 200,000 dogs in downtown Toronto. So there's people with dogs everywhere who's walking around Church in the City. One of the things we said is that, why don't we have dog treats near the front and start giving treats to the dogs that go by? We've had a handful of people come to church because their dogs, they know where the treats are, and they keep bringing them back, and then you build a relationship with the dog owners, right? So that was one simple way to just be loving, right? Another simple way is we go and play basketball. Go play basketball with the youth and the young adults, and you build relationship, you build friendships there, right? And it's just such an easy way to connect of just simply going to play basketball and sharing, you guys want to come back to Church in the City? We got freezies or cold water there. Perfect. Let's go hang out for a bit and have some conversation. So look at your scenario. How can you simply just make a difference? You don't have to be the most eloquent speaker. You don't have to have the Bible memorized. You don't have to pass the Bible entrance exam at Bible college. Okay, it's just go and do what you're called to do.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there. Because when you're sharing your testimony or just sharing about your faith, you don't have to be the one who is bringing them to Christ. That's God's job, right? You don't know, just by sharing your story or by sharing a good deed or act, where that's going to get them down the line. You're just planting the seed. Or you could be the one watering the seed. Or you could be the one pulling the weeds out of the soil. You don't know what your role in that person's life and faith journey is going to be. And that's great. That's the part where it's just like, cool. I'm just going to be obedient to what God says. If you pray for opportunities, God will give you opportunities, right? Like, and they may be in like random places. They may be in ways that you don't even know, but you have to be obedient and take those opportunities when they come. So I'll give the last words to Pastor John here, but my word to you guys who watch and listening is be bold, be brave, and seek out those opportunities because God will put them in your path. Last words to you, Pastor John.
Yeah, final words I got are: if you're looking for peace, if you're looking for joy, if you're looking for satisfaction, look to God, look to Christ. You're not going to find real lasting stuff from this temporary things in the world. You know, all that money in the world, if you had all that money in the world, it's not going to change. It will change some things for you. Yeah, things are going to be different for sure, but you're still going to be not satisfied. And there's only one way to do that. So I challenge you to do that. If you need help, you can always message us. You can join a local church community wherever you're at. And but we'd love to point you in that direction and help you in that way. You can always check out church online as well, and we'll have a couple descriptions of how you can do that in our YouTube bio.
Awesome. That's it for us today, guys. I'm really happy you're able to join in with us. Like us on X, on Instagram. Make sure you give us a subscribe and interact with us in the comments. Facebook, for those of you oldies on there, we will also post on Facebook. And we share the YouTube if you found this helpful and you found this valuable. Let's spread the word of God. That's really why we're doing this, is to glorify God and to love you guys through sports. So make sure you follow us on our socials, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.